Hello, how are you doing? I'm Azoka Ozo OJ. Please, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, subscribe. Also, click on the bell icon to get our updates each time we drop. You know, ever since the lockdown, WIKE has been facing some kind of trouble, resistance from the federal government, despite that a governor is supposed to have a say, complete say over his state. And the federal government is interfering with what is happening in River State. These are led to the change of the police chief. You know, recently WIKE destroyed a hotel that went against the lockdown. Actually, we had the people enforcing the lockdown went to them to query why they did open while the state ordered a lockdown, and there was a fracas, and somehow it led to government bringing down the hotel. Now, Amaechi wrote some cryptic Twitter comment, and a lot of people are querying that comment. Amaechi, the Minister of Transportation, recently shared a cryptic message on his Twitter, and users of Twitter think he was referring to WIKE. Amaechi was WIKE's predecessor, and things have not been going fine between the both of them. He posted a photo of a military officer with the caption, "Whom the gods will destroy, the first make mad." These were the words of Prometheus in the poem "The Mask of Pandora" by American poet Wordsworth Longfellow. Although the minister did not mention WIKE'S name, but numerous Twitter users who reacted to the post believe he was referring to his successor, who has also become his political rival. Governor WIKE has been recently criticized for his high-handedness style of government after he ordered the arrest of some ExxonMobil workers for allegedly violating the coronavirus COVID-19 lockdown order in River State. And a few days ago, the governor also made headlines when he ordered the demolition of 2 hotels in River State for allegedly going against the lockdown order. That's the state directives to shut down, to curtail the spread of COVID-19. So, when Amaechi shared this Twitter message, most Twitter users that come in contact with it felt he was referring to his successor, WIKE. By presenting that military uniform, he is trying to depict whoever he is referring to as a dictator. Now we'd like to share some reactions to that Amaechi's post. The one by at Constance Alexo 2. Yes, so the madness has started in River State. Our governor is violating human rights. At Abdulaziz Mento 2. Sir, why can't you do something about what the River State governor is doing to the people there in the state? You just be mute and thereafter you should say you love us. This one at Wisdom NCC. That's the beginning of the journey to the political land of no relevance. I love your demeanor in the whole process. He's cooking for the state. The state will soon cook for him. You remember that common saying that when one person cooks for many people, it's different from when many people cooks for one. Okay, let's read fourth one, or the final reaction. Is it at Churchill Nwagu? Honestly, the guy is power drunk and seems not to know his limits. Unfortunately, he's a senior lawyer. We'd like to know what you think about this. As a governor of the state, did he do well by bringing down the hotels? If you think he didn't do well, what should he have done? Considering that the hotel had not just only violated the lockdown, when people in charge who are trying to maintain the lockdown went to them, they had serious quarrels. Do you think what WIKE did was right? Should he have gone to that extent? Do you think there is something more to that than just the lockdown? What do you think we'd like to know? Please comment on the comment section of this YouTube. We will not only share with you the reaction of some Twitter users, but we share with you also the reaction of key persons in the country. Wike should stop acting as a president, Federal Republic of Rivers, Sagay said. Professor Sagay, who is also a senior advocate of Nigeria, is also the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, PACACs, reacted to Wike's demolition of hotels in Rivers State. Already you know there have been controversy over Wike's action in its effort to combat the spread of COVID-19 in the state. And the latest was, like we said earlier, the demolition of 2 hotels that were flouting the lockdown directives. We still ask that, we want to know your take on that. In terms of attitude, I think he is very hostile and aggressive, and is exhibiting it in the middle of this crisis. I remember the speech he made to the traditional rulers in the state. He treated them like rascally schoolboys that you can talk to anyhow without any regard. That was according to Professor Sagay, that he felt Wike's action was hostile and aggressive, and he used that opportunity to remember what Wike did to traditional chiefs. Remember, some of these traditional chiefs are not by appointment, some are by inheritance, and these offices existed before the British people came and gave us this kind of rule that we are applying today. Sagay was making reference to an earlier deed of Wike. He said that is his attitude, so I'm not really surprised. He said, now on the issue of coronavirus and its response to it, he has totally ignored the authority of the federal government. He is believing as if the federal government has no authority in the state and that he is completely in charge. I think the federal government has been very patient and accommodating in spite of the idiosyncrasy that has occurred. Meanwhile, we'd like to make some statement here. Professor Sagay should also be reminded that the federal government should not violate any state's law. Several states locked down, and River State is a key state just like Lagos and Abuja. They locked down, but ExxonMobil staff were moving against the lockdown order. Why should they move? We want to know. Professor Sagay, please answer us why they should move about. You know, it got to a point, it was as if the federal government had some ulterior motive in River State. Yes, the federal government came out to fight for the ExxonMobil staff. You wonder why? And the other question, why are they moving about during the lockdown? Why are they flying people in and out? Why? You know, it looks like a sinister move. Now the state arrested them, quarantined them. The federal government opposed that. Meanwhile, everybody understands the situation we are in. So we'd like to know, what is your contribution? Tell us how Wike has gone wrong. And do you think what Wike is doing, apart from just the demolition of the hotel, do you think he is really out to make sure that the pandemic does not overrun River State? We'd like to know, please. The IPOB leader also reacted to the demolition of the hotel, and here is what he has to say. Leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has lashed out those criticizing River State Governor Nyesom Wike for demolishing hotels of those who defied the governor's order on containing the virus, saying some of them didn't speak when Kaduna State Governor, the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Malam Nasiru El-Rufai, did even worse. When El-Rufai was busy terrorizing and pauperizing thousands of Biafran businesses by demolishing their hotels, bars, restaurants, and homes in Abuja, it says some of the raging hypocritical voices of righteous indignation we are hearing today were never heard. They never uttered a word, nor made a sound, because they were and still are afraid of the murderous tendencies. They are afraid of the masters, they're afraid of their masters who are still demolishing legitimate Igbo businesses in Abuja, Kanu formed. So, according to Kanu, during El-Rufai's reign, he was demolishing Igbo buildings in Abuja. Igbo-owned properties, he was demolishing them. It was same El-Rufai that gave figures of the amount of properties Igbo owned at 72% of Abuja. Same El-Rufai, having this figure in his head, demolished a lot of Igbo properties. He said, these guys that are reacting now to what Wike did, that are against what Wike did, they were there, nobody reacted. El-Rufai demolished Igbo properties, seized a lot of them. So, I know a particular guy in an area called Garki. He manages to survive. He sells these slippers called palm slippers, palm sandals. One day I had a discussion with him and he told me what led to where he was currently. So this guy said that his present condition was caused by El-Rufai. That El-Rufai, in his resolve to demolish Igbo properties, demolished his store with goods in it, then went further to demolish a property he owns as his house. So he has to start afresh. A lot of people that are opposed to what WIKE is doing did not talk that time. Nobody did speak up. Now WIKE demolished a hotel or hotels that are violating the lockdown, and a lot of people have come out immediately to criticize him. Now, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra went further to say that El-Rufai to become the governor of Kaduna State. And from that seat, from the government seat, openly he admitted to paying terrorists to decimate non-Fulani populations of the southern Kaduna. He said nobody reacted. Under your collective gnosis, you stuck your leg to the ground. Nobody has protested all of this. And today, some people are already saying El-Rufai could succeed Buhari. He's been seen as the next president of Nigeria. This is by same people again condemning WIKE'S action. Continuing, he said that the current FCT minister, Bello Muhammad, simply carried on from where his predecessor, El-Rufai, stopped and has been busy demolishing far more expensive building in Abuja belonging to Biafrans than that destroyed in Iguacha River State by WIKE. Nobody is talking. Kanu said he did not condone or give excuse for WIKE's administrative overreach because he went too far, but that the people must understand that operators of that very establishment risked the life of thousands of people in River State and beyond. He said potentially they could have brought infections and death to thousands of people, inadvertently providing accommodation to killers streaming into the towns and villages. Either way, the proprietors of the hotel placed thousands of lives at risk, whereas the Igbo businessmen and families whose livelihood were taken away by El-Rufai and Bello Muhammad in Abuja committed no offense known to law, he concluded. The leader of indigenous people of Biafra made a point. Say when a lot of people ought to speak, they didn't speak.